Got it. With regular members Ken Johnson, Paul Yeaget, Marge Smith, myself, and Ty Kern, our land use administrator, and Donna Hayes, our land use clerk, and various members representing applications here, right? I haven't missed any commissioners, right?
You got everybody.
Okay, so we need, I guess, a motion to add to the agenda 5D application 1325-23 Harrison for 69 Treasure Hill Road.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. And any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Okay, great. Okay. So did everybody have a chance to read the regular minutes of the May 22nd meeting?
Yep.
Any comments?
No, nicely done.
Very nicely done. I had one little silly typo.
Oh.
Oh, gosh. Oh, it's on page 2 under 4B. At the very end, it says of that discussion, it says member Ken Dietz was seated at 7:09 PM and Marge Smith stepped down, left the meeting. Probably should say stepped down and left the meeting or something. There's a word missing there. And that was the only thing I saw. I think they're excellent. Really well done. Any other comments?
Nope.
Paul or Ken?
No, look good.
Okay. Ken?
No comment. Looks good.
Okay, so we just need a thank you. We just need a motion.
I'll make a
then
motion to approve the minutes with the change as noted.
Okay, thanks.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay. Goody. All right, so we're going to move right into old business, and the very first one is application 131823 with Nancy Banfi. And I thought I saw Nancy. It looks like Nancy's here. The only question we had was just wetland locations, and I didn't know, Ty, if you'd had a chance to go out and look at it.
Did. So I added some photos. I think I may have included them in your packet. So I did go out and look at it. And we also found the original subdivision map that gave a little bit of a clearer picture of the wetland location. But all in all, it's kind of a simple location as long as they do. We talked a little bit about using some kind of erosion control or silt fence when they're, putting things in place, but it's not a huge disruption.
Okay. Was that actually, was the erosion control actually indicated on the application? Is that one of the ones that we needed some additional info?
No, it wasn't. Mostly because there wasn't a lot of, Nancy can correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't think that they were planning on doing a lot of like excavation or anything like that.
Right,
So we were
right.
just talking about being careful in case something like that. There's stone, so only grading of stone
Yeah, we're
to
not
level the
planning,
footprint.
not planning any excavation.
Nancy, could you repeat that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
We're not planning any excavation.
Okay. That's what I had
It
thought
is-
from our conversation. Go ahead, Paul, sorry.
Is the gravel just being placed on grade? So you're not removing any soil whatsoever?
That's correct.
Okay.
And then the shed just gets put on top of that gravel.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't see where any erosion control would make a difference if there's not going to be any exposed soil to wash away.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's really not, there were no real concerns.
Okay. Marge or Ken, do you have any other questions?
Nope.
Looks like a pretty simple operation to me.
Yeah.
Thank
Paul,
you.
you okay?
Take a look.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so thank you, Ty, for going out and sending us these photos. And if there are no other questions on the part of the commission, then I think we can entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve application 1318-23.
Second,
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Opposed, abstention. Okay, there you go, Nancy. Thank you very much for your patience and good luck.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, next up is application 1319-23. This was the installation of solar panels and a little bit of trenching, and again, this looked pretty straightforward. And I wondered, Ty, if you had any additional questions. It looked like you had no real concerns at the last meeting.
No, I mean, it's an open area, no tree cutting, grassy kind of area, so.
Is there anybody here for the application?
Yeah, I am Jim Laporta.
Oh, hi, hi.
Hi, how you
So
doing?
has anything changed with the application, or is it all as originally presented?
As presented. Thanks.
Okay. And Paul, Marge, or Ken, do you have any questions, additional questions?
No,
no questions.
Looks pretty straightforward.
Great. So I think we're ready to act, and I would thank you for your patience as well. Somebody needs to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve application 1319-23.
Second? Need a second?
Second,
Thank you, Ken. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
aye,
Opposed?
Abstention? Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good
Have
night.
fun. You too. Okay, we're on to application 1320-23. We did have a few questions about this. This is the grading and drainage within the pond and setback area. Let me just see. We were looking for some additional information, Ty, to make the application complete. I think those were the major concerns. There was a legend issue. There was,
So Pat Hackett is here and he did update plans to answer all the questions that you had. I did go out to the site. I took some pictures and shared those as well.
yeah.
Is,
And
I
we
mean,
had some-
activity. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we had some questions about the the water being redirected.
So Mr. Hackett is here. He could probably answer a lot of your questions.
Hi, Pat.
How you doing? If there's a barn out there, and if you look at the pictures, I know the last one shows where it's rotting out. The soil was never really graded that well. The contours that are on this plan were their LiDAR from the 2016 flight, and I found them to be pretty good. And you can see just with the way the contour is on the plan that it's higher in the middle. And what they're looking to do is drain it so that the wood doesn't rot and the water doesn't get inside the barn. In order to do that, we could have gone in an easterly direction because there is another water course to the east that comes in, or to the one where we're coming into. It's on the Route 7 side. And it was just easier to go in toward the Route 7 side. There were some nice trees that would have been impacted that were still in decent shape. And so this was the easiest route to take it. There is a little, I think it's a 12-inch plastic pipe, one of those corrugated pipes where the driveway, there's a current driveway that goes to the barn. All our activity would be on the upstream side of that. We do have the flow arrows on there, so you know which way the water is running. It would be, if you're looking at the plan, the green pad is to be stapled in there. It's so we don't, I'm not a big fan of riprap. I think if this stuff's installed properly, there's less chance of an erosion issue. For sediment and erosion control, we're just proposing a line of hay bales that are dug in. There is a lot of sediment in this little stretch, from the pad to where the culvert inlet is. And, you know, so that's how we would control anything. The project's pretty small. You can see on that plan, it's a 10 scale. It's really not that large, and this thing shouldn't take more than a couple days. I don't know if the commission has any questions in the meantime.
Well, this is really helpful. Thank you for this. Marge or Paul or Ken?
No, it makes sense.
Yeah, I was just looking at the plans and I was looking at the pictures and what's proposed just does make sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Ty, do you have any additional questions based on this plan?
No, it seems like it's something that needs to get done.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I when I was a child, I knew that property really well, and I remember the barn having rot issues even then. So I think this makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Ken?
No questions.
Okay, this is very helpful. I'm grateful for the additional info, and it sounds like we are ready to make a motion unless there are any other additional questions.
No questions. Okay.
Okay, so very good. We need someone to make a motion, please.
All right. I'll make a
It's
motion
your
again.
night, Marge.
I guess so. 1320-23. With the
Seconded.
updated information.
And
I second
Ken,
the
you
motion.
Thank you, Ken. Any further discussion on this? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Okay, so I want to thank the landowners. And I want to thank you, Pat. Really appreciate you doing this. Good job.
Thank you. Have a good
Thanks,
night.
Dave.
You too. All right, application 1321-23. I don't know that Rick is here, but we really discussed this pretty fully at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Ty, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think that, Rick received many accolades from the good job that he did. So I think, we were just waiting to follow the proper procedure for approval.
Any questions or comments from the rest of the commission?
Nope.
No,
Okay, then I think we're ready to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve application 1321-23.
Thank you. Second?
I'll
Second.
second. No, give it to Ken. I've opened my
All
mouth
right.
enough.
Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Yep, very good. All right, so now we're ready to move into new business. And the first up is a modification on 81 Kent Hollow Road. And I believe I saw Howard is, well, oh,
Yep.
there
I'm
they
here.
are. Thank you. And Brian's here too.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. We appreciate your coming in. We understand that things change as you move forward with any land use application, but we really need to understand all of the changes that you've made, that you want to make on this application, and make sure that the commission has no questions, or if we do, that we get the answers we need. And then, we can move forward legally, and so can you. And that will be a good thing. Yeah.
It's fine.
So I'm gonna, Ty, I don't know if you want to set this up in any way.
I mean, sure, there's several different things that have come to notice. Some small things and some that I thought were a little bit larger. So the rain gardens have been planted with grass instead of the native plantings. I think they're planning on doing the native plantings somewhere down the line. We did get a letter from Mr. Neff and also Mr. Saban saying that the grass is performing exactly as if the native plantings were. So I thought that was insignificant and that might be okay. Gravel was replaced, the pavers, the permeable pavers have been replaced with gravel. And again, Mr. Neff provided a letter saying that they would perform exactly the same. So I don't think that's very significant. The root space system is something that you guys spent a lot of time on. And that was an entire sheet of the original plan, if you remember, and you did have them even update it from a 7-year storm to a 100-year storm. So it was something that meant something to the commission. So that has been removed completely from the plan, and Mr. Neff has explained that they've made accommodations in a different way to manage the water that will result the same. Then just the other day, and Mr. Neff came in today with the plan adjustment, the building official went out there and we realized that the foundation and around the foundation had changed as well. This is something they haven't put in yet, but it's an impact that might be slightly different. So I think Mr. Neff came in today. I uploaded that information just today. You may not have gotten it in your packets because of that. So that kind of sums up everything that I wanted to make sure that you guys knew about and that you were okay with, because they're very anxious to get their certificate of zoning compliance. And in order to get that compliance, we have to be sure that they're complying with what was approved for wetlands as well. So I hope that you guys had a chance to get out there and look at it. Because Lori Sheasel had called and she explained how, they had been enduring a hardship and they wanted to move forward as quickly as possible with this. So I guess Brian's here to talk a little bit more about it.
That would be really helpful. Brian, the site is a very tricky site and we spent a
Yes.
lot of time walking the site. It's a beautiful site, but it's a tricky one. And what we were trying to do was ensure that that the water resources on that site would remain and that there'd be no impact from the development of the site. So if you could, at least from my perspective, talk us through the changing of water storage from the root system to the storage tank and the foundation change. That because those two things do seem to be rather significant deviations, and just explain to us how from our standpoint, what we care about, which is the impact of anything happening on that land to the stream below and the wetlands on site. If you could just kind of walk us through that, that would be a helpful
Sure.
beginning.
Sure. As far as the original proposal, the landscape architects, Star Whitehouse, came up with the idea of the roots system for detaining stormwater. But once we start excavating on the site, it's very shallow to ledge in that area where the house is, and contractor had to do some hammering of ledge to try to get the foundation in. So when we looked at the geometry of the ledge against the back of the house, it turned out to be a very small area to work with. And we also discovered that this root space system is basically kind of a plastic boxes that are stacked up. And in order to make those watertight, you have to wrap them with a membrane, plastic sheets or things like that. And they won't guarantee that that won't leak. So the concern was the area that we had to work with was very limited because of ledge. And also the idea that if this leaked, you're right up against the back foundation of the house. So we thought there might be some leakage problems actually going into the basement area. So we looked at a different way of doing this. We needed something that was a totally sealed container, catch that water, and then we could discharge that at a slow rate. So we looked at the idea of doing a 10,000 gallon tank behind the house where the roots system was going to go, but it wouldn't fit. The tank itself is it's 8.5 feet in diameter and it's 30 feet long. So it's a very large tank. So we really didn't have many places to put that tank. The excavator kind of dug around in the yard area to try to find a place for this that could be underground and down gradient of where the house roof system is, which we did find a place that we would fit in. So,
I'm sorry, where is the place that it would fit in? Down
well,
on
it's
the other side?
actually off to the side of the house near the driveway.
Okay,
You're able to find a place where the ledge dropped off. A tank that's 9 feet diameter and 30 feet long is difficult to find a place you could keep that underground.
so is this
So-
still a 10,000 gallon tank?
Yes,
And
Yeah.
is this going, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm just trying to picture it. Is this gonna catch the water that's gonna run off from where the house is?
it's going to catch all the roof water coming off the house. Behind the house is the permeable pavers. They'll still allow infiltration into the area behind the house, but that would be kind of a small amount of water to carry into that area behind the house itself. I feel that would be pretty safe for that water to go down in the ground. But to potentially release thousands of gallons of water through leakage behind the house would invariably cause a leakage into the basement, I think. We were pretty worried about that. Obviously, the ledge is really impermeable. And, once you build up that much pressure behind there, these are kind of like milk crate. If you can picture a milk crate, they're kind of a square box that you stack up and they're on all sides. So they're not sealed at all. They're just kind of a building structure on the roofscape system where we really needed something that was more sealed. And I felt that the tank would do the best job. It's a totally enclosed tank. It's sealed. It's rated for 10,000 gallons of water capacity. So we felt that would be an option of another way of doing this. So the water comes off the roof, goes into a 10,000 gallon tank. There's a valve box that's adjacent to the tank. It discharges into the dissipation trench. It's actually under the cantilever of the house by the trail. So it's a big trench. It's 5 feet wide, 5 feet deep, 34 feet long. So it's got a lot of capacity to discharge that water safely underground. And what we would do would be to meter that through the valve box. So it would be flowing out in a very small increment. Versus 100-year storm, we have a rating of 7 inches of rainfall in 24 hours, which does vary during the storm. So we wanted to have a vessel big enough to hold that water and then we clear that out slowly so that it's not, there was actually a lesser amount of water discharged into the ground than there would be during the storm. So it's an enclosed, very safe system. We just had a hard time fitting it on the site in terms of location.
Are you
It's actually
comfortable
further away from the brook than the house is.
Are you
And, it's
comfortable with
adjacent
the
to
amount of
driveway.
water?
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with the amount of water?
Yeah, we've designed that for a 100-year storm rainfall in 24 hours, which is 7.1 inches of rainfall, which is a lot of water.
And that's using the most recent changes to what is a 100-year storm?
Yes.
Okay.
So those are safe numbers. And it's been in place for probably maybe 6 or 8 months, almost a year, and it's actually functioned very well. It's taken every bit of water off the roof. We metered that out in a very small amount into the trench. There's been no overflow of the trench, and it's actually functioned very well. So it's actually been in operation for a while.
Lynn, I went up and looked at the site and I was lucky enough to have Howard there who took me and showed me inside where the root system was actually going to be in the beginning,
Mhm.
in the original plan. And I completely agree with Brian that could have been, this is a big improvement. It's a big improvement. It's a safe improvement. The root system space, I was just surprised at how tight it is. And then hearing that it was not an airtight or watertight system, I thought, oh my God, this is something that could be, it could be disastrous. I think this is an enormous improvement.
Did you
Um,
see the trench, Marge?
I didn't see the trench, but I saw the site of where the big tank is. So just listening to what Brian is explaining now, I don't see that it can have any impact on the brook.
Okay,
I
that's
think
great.
this was a really, really amazing challenge, and I'm impressed with what they did.
That's
Another
great, thank
advantage
you.
of having a tank is some storage for runoff water that can be used on the site also for irrigation, things like that.
Yeah.
So it's a readily available water source for other things also in terms of mostly watering, plants around the building, things of that sort.
Yeah.
Also has possibility for, if there was a fire on the site, there's enough water in there to serve, as a connection to a hydrant. If there was a fire in the house, you've got 10,000 gallons of water there that's available that you could use in that kind of a situation.
Yeah, which is
So
gonna be
there's some
great during
multi-purpose-
drought
Yeah,
also.
Yeah,
we should all be so lucky.
Yeah, really.
Hey,
Yeah.
Brian, I've got a question.
sure.
The tank, I see the valve box. Is that automatically reach an overflow point where it discharges, or does that need to be done manually?
Or there's actually a siphon in there. You want to pull the water out of the tank. I was a little bit worried about making a connection toward the bottom, have that possibly leak. So we designed a siphon basically to come out of the top of the tank, go down into the valve box. There's a big valve there that can be adjusted as far as how much water comes out. The siphon's set up so that there's a reverse on the outflow of the piping. So what happens is the water goes down and it'll actually stop where that pipe is turned up. I've used that on some jobs where we did pond dredging. It actually is pretty slick because once you get that siphon working, it'll actually hold the water and flow out at a constant level. So we use the idea of that to come up with what to feed the valve box, and it's adjustable in terms of it's a big ball valve actually to adjust the outflow.
Oh, okay.
I have a question, Brian.
Yes.
The septic system is located northwest of the house. And it looks like it's only about 80 feet or so from the brook. What is the septic system there? What does it consist of?
Well, what's there is actually a sealed septic tank. It's a concrete tank that's watertight. And there's also a pumping chamber, which is a watertight concrete box also. The actual leaching field is actually quite a distance from the house. It's actually just above where the old, I don't know if you remember where the old cabin was on the property,
Yeah,
which is a long distance away. It's actually I'm sure it's the furthest I've ever had to pump a septic as far as going from the septic tank and pump chamber up to the leaching field,
Wow.
which, the location of the tank and the pump chamber, those are sealed units. They've been water tested, they don't leak. And the piping up to the leaching field is sealed piping also. So there's no danger in any kind of leakage coming out of that system going into the brook.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
leaching
that
field
was-
That was
itself
very
I
is-
didn't-
tricky.
I didn't see the leaching fields on this map. That's why I had that question. But it sounds like you have that all resolved.
Yeah, actually, it's a long distance up the hill. It's probably, probably 800 or 900 feet further away from the house up the hill, which was good soil there. So we ended up pumping up to a leaching field area there.
Uh-huh.
And that's
Good.
beyond the 200 feet from the brook.
While you're having this conversation, it might be a good time just to talk a little bit about that boulder wall, the deposit that you did for the septic.
Oh,
That hadn't been on the original plan.
yeah, when they put the septic tank and pump chamber in, they hit ledge at the bottom of the excavation, which was a little bit shallower than expected. So the actual tanks were kind of sticking up out of the ground. So the boulders replaced, and there's actually no absence of boulders there. There's all kinds of rocks everywhere. So they took some of the boulders and put that on the down gradient side of the septic tank and the pump chamber, just to allow that grade to be raised up and hold that that's the soil in place. It didn't encroach and much further into the regulated area, but it served as a way of putting the soil around the tanks. They have to have at least 6 inches of cover on top of the tank in the pump chamber. I just allowed that to be done in a pretty straightforward manner.
Yeah, and we did have that conversation on site when we were talking about the location of that,
Yeah,
in terms of the fact that you didn't know really how much ledge you might encounter and that there might be some variability there. I do remember that conversation.
So the health district has signed off on the plan and also signed off on the final inspection and the as-built. So that's been previously approved by Torrington Health District. Kathy Weber was out there several times and I did the inspections
sure.
with her. And she was comfortable with the completion of the system.
Yeah,
All right, that
Wow.
boulder wall is still within the line of disturbance. Didn't go out beyond that from what was originally proposed.
Well, it went probably a couple of feet closer to the brook, but it's not a drastic difference in change.
Mhm.
The boulders they put up almost right up against the tank, so it was trying to keep it as compact installation as possible.
Okay.
And the boulders act as a good, kind of retaining structure. I mean, they're good sized boulders. They're not going to go anyplace. So that seemed to be a logical way of handling that.
and then Ty, you mentioned something about the foundation changes.
Yeah, so that's something that we just discovered, and it's different. So I think I'll let Brian talk about that more. We did upload a new plan with that.
I guess there's been some different ideas about what to put around the foundation of the building. I know there was some talk of putting gabion structures around the perimeter, which is basically a wire basket filled with rocks, which is kind of a utilitarian installation. It's used for erosion control. It's used for retaining structures. It's not the best looking kind of a thing necessarily. The latest design is kind of a sloped embankment where you would put you make kind of an articulated plastic grating that you can put on the top of the surface. That'll hold the soil and the gravel in place. So it's kind of a sloped embankment that goes up on the sides of the basement. It's actually all within the limited disturbance that was originally established. And it's just a different way of doing a covering around the basement area itself, the concrete walls. The design of it is in keeping with controlling the runoff. The system that they are proposing is kind of a grid system that's held the gravel in place. So it's a very permeable structure that'll absorb rainwater. So there's no danger of any extra water coming off the site from this kind of an installation. Whereas the gabions might allow more water to go through that. It's a much more porous installation. So I think it's probably a good choice in terms of how to treat the outside of the foundation itself. I think aesthetically it looks nicer, and again, it's a green kind of a system going around the building itself.
I think the whole project is a masterpiece of engineering. If you look at that mountain full of boulders and ledge, how you were able to put a house in there is almost impossible to believe.
Well, it does fit, although it's a tight squeeze, and the limited disturbance was very, very controlled. So I think it was done very carefully during construction, and still is in terms of the design of the building and the grounds itself.
Yeah, and we knew the site would have its challenges as you moved forward. I think in the future, if we could have this ongoing conversation with the commission, that might not be a bad idea when you're confronting that kind of thing. But we knew going in it was going to be tough and we knew that a lot of care and attention had been paid to how to deal with the challenges on site. So,
Well, the contractor did the work without any blasting. And he did some.
I know
hammering
that that's
with
kind of
rock.
really.
So it was very careful in terms of how they were doing the work there. And
Yeah.
preserved a lot of the big boulders that kind of give it a certain look. A lot of that has remained in place. Well, some of the boulders were too big to move, but
Right.
it
They're
still is,
beautiful.
it's got it still retains that
Yeah,
kind of a flavor of being in the woods and being
absolutely.
set right into nature. So it's a very, very unique building and coming along well.
It's a unique site, and we, as a commission, we typically, we're trying to work with people all the time to accomplish the goals that people have for their land and to achieve our main mission, which is to protect water quality and wetlands, right? So, yeah, I think maybe having this conversation a little bit earlier in the process would have avoided some angst, at a minimum. So
There's been a
let's
lot of
remember that
different
going forward.
ideas. There's been a lot of ideas along the way in terms of
Yeah.
possible tweaks here and there of how things are going to work. The root space thing, I think, was concept that the landscape architect came up with, believing that there was more room to put that system in and maybe better soils for it to go into. It's kind of a design more related to going into deeper soils. Because it's not really a watertight system in terms of the sealing, which, we didn't really realize until we did more investigation into that system, how it works and how it could be installed. Then we said, there's definitely a problem in doing this. So we had to kind of switch gears, look at a couple different options. But I think the enclosed tank is the safest way to go on this.
Right.
By far.
All I'm saying, it sounds like everybody seems to agree. I'm just saying, in the future, as that happens, let Ty know, and she'll bring us in when the time is right,
No, I understand.
But,
I
okay.
agree.
Any other thoughts from Marge or
I just
Paul
want to
or-
say, having seen the site just in the
Mhm.
last week and being privileged enough to go inside the house as well, this is something I think we should all be very proud of. It really,
Yeah.
it's an amazing place. We didn't think in the beginning that there would be any way that this would work, and it's worked. And it's a pleasure.
Good.
I
Ken?
can't add anything to that. It's quite an engineering feat, so.
It is. Ken?
But as you said, Len, I just wish that we had been brought in a little bit sooner on that, so.
I think there was some unnecessary angst around this, and there's never any need for that. There just isn't. Ken, any other questions? Do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Ty, are you comfortable and satisfied that the things that the commission needs to be informed about, we've been informed about? Is there anything else we should be concerned about?
I think there were a couple things that Brian noted that were omitted, maybe the attachment from the garage on his new plan, that walkway attachment has been taken out. I think it was replaced with like a barbecue patio kind of thing. All of those don't seem terribly significant. What I really want to kind of hear from you is that you're satisfied with the way the site looks and you're okay with giving compliance, having, seen it, like you said, it's a very difficult site. And I
I
just want to
think-
make sure that you're satisfied before we give compliance, because there's really no turning back after that.
Right. So I think one of the outstanding questions is the native plantings and whether or not we have concerns about wanting to see something more than grass planted. And Marge, what do you think about that? Having been to the site, what do you think
I
now?
think the grass is okay for now. It's serving its purpose.
Do you think, though, that we should be asking for native plantings in the future?
In terms of functionality or just aesthetics?
Oh, not aesthetics, functionality.
Right. No, I don't think so.
Okay. So what we're looking at here is an amendment to the original permit. And once we approve that, then you can move ahead in any way that you need to, Ty, right? We don't, all we're our piece of the compliance is really just to deal with our permit, right?
Yeah, to make sure that you understand that there were changes.
Yes.
And those changes have already been implemented, with the exception of the foundation, but I mean, if you don't feel like that's terribly significant, I can go ahead and, tomorrow go to the office and give them a certificate of compliance.
Well, we need to approve the changes first, so.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay, well. I feel like we've been satisfied in terms of an explanation with regard to the changes and the impact of those changes with regard to the quality of the brook. And if that's the case, then we should be able to act with a motion to approve the modifications as presented.
So moved.
Thanks,
I'll
Second.
second.
Thanks, Paul. And Ken. Any further discussion, questions, concerns? By anyone, applicant, Ty, or the commission? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Ty, I really want to thank you for being on top of this and bringing this to our attention, because we wouldn't have known about it. And Brian, I just want to again reiterate, when you're working with clients, encourage them to come to us earlier in the process. Thank you. Okay, so I think we're good. Are we good to go? Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
good. Listen,
Thank
good
you,
luck.
Don.
You're really, once this is done, it will be an amazing, it already is an amazing place. And we appreciate the time and effort and everything, all the care that you're taking with this site, because it is very unique. And thank you for coming in tonight too.
Yeah, well,
Thank you
thanks for
very
your
much.
trust.
Thank
And
you.
we'll make
Thank
sure
you,
that
Howard
we
and Donna.
reflect that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay. All right.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good luck. Good luck to you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right, so thanks again, Ty. Do appreciate that a lot. Application 1323-23, Stefan Peters. And this is the. All right. New tonight. And is Stefan here? I thought I saw a Stefan. Oh,
Yeah,
there.
I'm here.
Thank you. Ty, do you have anything you want to say to kind of set this up?
I think you're pretty familiar with the site. He did come back once for a modification, kind of shifted everything along. It's been a long project for him. I think he's had some issues along the way. So this is just an underground tank and some associated trenching. I think Stefan was gonna update some of the plans because it didn't have all the information there, but I don't know that he got to it
Right.
before this meeting, but we were talking a little bit about supplying some more information. So I'll let him.
Yeah, so Ty, you sent me three bullet points that you thought would come up. I forwarded those to the engineer that helped me update the current plan, and have not heard back from him. He did contact me back saying he's going to get on it. I said I was trying to get a place on the agenda tonight. I don't want to waste your time with sob stories, but never heard back. So what I did do was I took a scale drawing and I calculated the distance of the tank to the actual wetland boundary, which is underlying on the original application, on the original permit that was approved. And the tank sits at 26.5 feet exactly from the water, from the wetlands boundary, I'm sorry. When I spoke with Kathy Weber 3 months ago, she said, I mentioned to her, that tank, I don't know what the regulations are, wetlands regulations are, but the tank is variable. I can move that anywhere along the entire driveway. So that can be moved if it is indeed within too close to the wetlands. So I relayed that information to the engineer as well. I'm not sure if he took that into account. So I'm still waiting to hear back from him. I did send that to you. It was right before the meeting. I just tried to draft something up for you guys. So that's one.
We will have to actually have the opportunity to look at that carefully. We won't be able to act on this application at tonight's meeting anyway, so we will have time to look at it. You're saying you can move the tank easily to move it farther away?
Yeah, so right now it's just a theoretical location. We thought it was the perfect spot for it. But if it is indeed too close to the wetlands, we can move it anywhere along that, along the driveway line. So right now it's at 26.5 feet, which is a calculation I did myself, trying to race for this meeting. But it can be moved. That's one. The second point that you brought up, Ty, was that the wetlands is not delineated clearly. All of this work has been done as sort of transparency on top of the previous permit, because the previous engineer has not released any CAD drawings or anything of that sort. So we've been working on top of a drawing or a topo as well as a plan that is not the best situation unless I were to go and start from scratch with wetlands and a survey and all of that. But you can see them if that's something that needs to be more clearly marked. I'm sure that's possible, and I can give you all the backup to that as well from the original engineer plan from 2 or 3 years ago. The third point, Ty, that you brought up was that the patio in the back. You thought maybe it'd be smart to include that in this application, but that was part of the previous application. So again, maybe it's not clear on this overlay, but there was a patio, a 420 square foot patio on the back side of the house that was approved on the previous plan. That is actually, since we've cleared that area, is going to actually reduce in size because like the previous applicant, I'm on a lot of ledge, and that patio sits right on top of just some massive boulders, which we're not going to move. So again, I understand that you can't act on this today, but maybe if you did look at that and just gave me an idea of what I should be pursuing with probably another engineer that would satisfy your needs, that would be wonderful.
Is the pool being planned now or is just for some future use?
No, the pool is already there. The pool has been,
Oh.
yeah.
It says proposed pool on mine.
Because he's using his old plan for the original application.
I see.
Ken, yeah.
So that
But
had
it
to be
would
done
be-
first because we wouldn't be able to access the pool location once we start construction on the house. So that was built 1.5 years ago.
Are you saying that you do have a plan that shows the wetlands on the site?
I do. It was from the previous application, but I can send
That
that
would
to
be
you.
good that would be useful to have.
Okay.
Can you sketch out on that where your trench and tank are going? That would be helpful. Just by hand, by
Sure.
hand.
Sure. Yeah.
And
That's what Kathy mentioned that to me. She said, why don't you just do it by hand? And I thought,
yeah,
I've been here so many times, I should probably get a professional, and clearly I should have just done it.
there's no if you've already got the information though, there's really no reason. You're talking about a tank and a trench. The
Mhm.
question about the location of the trench in terms of its proximity to the wetlands, I just don't know what kind of a risk natural gas is
Mhm.
to a wetland. And I wonder, I'm sure Kathy may have a better sense of that.
Mhm.
Why did you think this was the perfect location for it?
Because it's easy access for the gas company. We can consolidate both the gas required for the pool as well as for the house in the same spot. It's very close to where the utility room is going to be for when the gas enters the house. It was killing a few birds with one stone. The original location was actually on the back side of the house, which was right smack in the shadow of the wetlands. So we thought this was a lot easier. The original plan was, in my mind, was, well, we wouldn't want it there because it would be unsightly. But I think this is where Kathy came in. If we bury it, I think it was the disturbance of the area that was more important than necessarily the gas. So right now, the way that the contours, I mean, I'm sure you can see on this drawing, the contours of this property are very, very steep. So even if we were to dig just mildly and put the tank there, we could cover over the top of it and you wouldn't even notice it's there. And there are no trees or anything in that spot.
Right, you're not cutting anything down.
No.
Ken or Paul or Marge, What do you think about that?
I would just like to see the wetlands delineated like you had said, but
Yeah.
I could see why he wants the tank where it is. It just makes
Yeah.
sense that it goes there.
And you don't see an impact to the wetland?
Here again, you said it, I was thinking it before, you know, what impact would leaking natural gas or propane
Right.
have on the
Propane.
wetlands? It's
Yeah.
not as though it's going to flow downhill into a wetlands. If
Right.
there's a leak, it's going to escape up into the air.
Right.
Can we look at this property?
You sure you
I'd like
can?
to, I'd like to see it.
You can
Want me
go
to
out
set up a
anytime you
site
want.
walk?
On
can
our
do that.
own or a formal site walk, or can we just go out on our own?
You can, I'm actually going to be there all next week if you want to rendezvous.
Sure,
Be
I'd like
glad
to
to
go
show
out.
you my construction site.
I won't be able to join you on a site walk at all, this week or next, but maybe, Ken, you could go take a look at the property.
Yes, I'd like to do that.
Okay.
I'm off. I'm retired. I can go any day next week. That's fine.
Okay. I'm happy to show it to you.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts? So we're gonna get some additional information for the next meeting, including the wetland delineation with just hand drawn where you want to put this. I'd be curious to know if there's any other potential impact of propane on wetlands. I just don't know enough about
Imagine
it.
what it would be, but
Yeah,
it's a good
And-
question.
yeah, and you know, outside of that, if the digging and the covering of the tank is not going to pose any kind of a, you know,
Yeah, there's already silt fence in place.
So just a quick discussion about the patio. I don't see any for, like, the most recent modification didn't have that patio on there. If it's a non-issue to the rest of you, I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of it and good with that patio.
Let me find.
and where exact,
Yeah,
What patio? Where is this located?
It's it's on the back side of the atrium. You can see it's, let's see.
Outdoor
Looks like it's
pavers?
bricks.
oh, right.
Yeah, outdoor pavers, yeah. The
I
only
see.
thing that we were planning to do was, so that patio was reduced in size by about 25%. On the uphill side is just big Volkswagen size rock. So we were planning to do a wooden deck instead, just in that area above level. That's permeable, clearly, and then keep it to within that area. So I would say we're down to like 400 square feet, maybe.
are you digging close for it or?
Yeah. I think that I think so. It's Dubray's was digging post this week. I think the building inspection was supposed to be this end of this week at some point. But this was all with the understanding. We thought that this had been approved on the last plan already, because this was from the last plan.
The modification or the previous
the
one
mod-
that you,
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
the middle
see it
one.
on there.
Yeah, the modification. So outdoor paved patio, that blue wording is on the modification.
So
In
instead of
regard
an
to-
outdoor paved patio, you're talking about a wooden raised patio with holes dug and
Right.
concrete poured?
Yes.
How many holes?
Oh, gosh. I believe they were saying 7.
And the dirt is just piled up?
I'm not sure.
Where you're gonna be digging out post holes and pouring concrete, right? I know it's
Right.
not a ton of dirt, but I'm curious. Mhm.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with the dirt?
Dirt will go
Uh,
back in the holes.
Yeah, back in the hills, but also on the uphill side,
Can it-
we're not wanting for dirt. We need actually more to
Okay,
fill in a lot of spots.
so that's what you'll do, is spread it around on site. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And all of these, I should mention, all of the rock walls that are being built, this is a point of pride, I think. Every single stone that just came right out of the ground. We've had to get rid of a lot actually, just to make room. There's no elbow room. You'll see this next week. There's hardly any room to move around here, so it's been kind of a challenge.
Okay, so does anybody have a problem with the change from the change to a raised wooden deck?
No,
No,
Okay,
I have no problem with that.
okay. So Ty, I think that answers that. Okay, so any other changes we ought to be aware of? Because we just need to get some additional information. We'll be able to act on this at the next regular meeting. So
Mhm.
now's the time, if there's any additional questions that need answering.
If there's anything else, I mean, maybe Ken, when you come out, this propane tank would have been on here 2 years ago had I known. I'm learning as fast as I possibly can to make up the vacuum that's been created by people that I've been hiring. But if there is anything else that you see, please let me know.
And
Okay.
let us know.
Understand. Thank you.
Okay, okay then. Sounds like we could entertain a motion to move this to the next regular meeting with the additional information that we're looking at and Ken's report back.
So moved.
Thank you. Need a second? Paul.
second,
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention? No. Okay, thanks, Stefan.
Thank you so much.
All right, see you
Bye-bye.
next month.
Right,
If not
bye-bye.
before. All right, bye. All right, so. Thanks, Ken, for going out on that.
Sure.
All right, next application is 1324-23 Northwest Connecticut Land Conservancy. This is for pedestrian bridge and mower stream crossings. And Ty, did you have any questions on this?
Not so much. There was nobody, I don't think there's anybody here that could be present this evening, but I think they, provided a lot of information. I think you might be familiar with the site because they had done some work out there previously.
Yeah.
It seems kind of straightforward to
I
me.
walk there all the time. I know both those
Okay,
water
good.
courses intimately.
And you
Yeah.
think this plan is good?
I actually think it's an improvement because people otherwise are sort of slightly jumping over the brooks and can wear down particularly the one that's only running part of the time. I think having it actually a flat access will be better for it.
Yeah, and I think they know what they're doing when it comes to environmental and wetland protection.
Yep.
But I just wanted to make sure that you were comfortable.
Yep.
Okay, so we can, if there are no questions that Ty can bring back to the applicant at the moment, then we can entertain a motion to move this to the next regular meeting and take action then.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention? All right. Okay, 5D, application 1325-23, 69 Treasure Hill Road, Harrison. Is there someone here? Oh, hi. Oops, you're on mute. You're on mute.
There we go.
Hi. Okay, this one, I don't have anything physical in front of me, Ty, and I wasn't sure
One second.
if you wanted to walk us, kind of set us up for the conversation.
Like I said, this came in at about 3:30 this afternoon, so I didn't get a great chance to look over it, but when I did glance at it, I'm not really clear where that underbrush is. And the reason why I asked them to come in because they're gonna be using machinery to take that underbrush out, so, I thought it was important, it wasn't an agent kind of level thing. But when I did pull up the map, there are several areas of conserved area on this parcel, and I kind of scanned that in too, so I'm hoping that none of those areas are where they're proposing to take the brush out, so we're just
Who-
gonna have to kind of figure that out.
Who owns the conserved areas? Or who has the
I don't,
easement?
I honestly didn't even have a second to find that out.
It's
She may
really the
not.
applicant's responsibility to provide that information. So Nicole, do you know?
I am not familiar with that. We did look, the parcel, I believe, is about 109 acres in total, but I am not aware of any adjacent property that's in conservation.
Or any easement that's on this parcel that you're talking about?
Correct, correct.
So
I
maybe you're
I
gonna
did
need
look
to
at the
get,
deed. Uh-huh.
you're
go
gonna need
ahead.
to get together with Ty and let her show you what she's found. And typically that will be, hopefully, oh gosh, hopefully that will be on the land use records.
Okay, okay. I did look in the deed and I didn't see anything in there. It's the same, they recently did an addition and they added, part of the addition that they did to the house was adding a terrace on the back, and they did have to go through inland wetlands for that.
Mhm.
So it's the same, it's that same area in between where they did the addition, that back terrace and the pond.
So we'll
If
just need to double check that the actual area where the underbrush is going to be removed is identified. Sounds like you're saying, Ty. And also if it impacts any of these, any area that has a conservation easement on it, you need to get permission. We need to know that it meets the terms of the easement, but at the very least, the easement holder needs to okay it. Yeah.
Okay, so Ty, there were conservation easements that would be applicable in this case?
Yeah, I mean, if you go just on the town's GIS, you can click on the, the conserved areas and just kind of identify them. There's several around the outskirts of the property.
Can you explain
Also-
exactly which, oh, I'm sorry, Ty, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Can you explain exactly what you're gonna do? What you're trying to do?
Just brush cutting. So there's a strip of woodland that is between the house and the pond that has some dead and dying trees in it, some trees that are fine, and all of the undergrowth, it's all invasives. It's multiflora rose, it's, winged euonymus, honeysuckle, all of that type of stuff, bittersweet, that's growing up all of the trees there. So it's just clearing out that undergrowth so that we can help along the existing trees.
Are you gonna
and
be
just ma-
replanting anything in there? Because it's just
No.
gonna come back in, isn't it?
Right, so this would probably be a yearly process, which I think they also do on the other side of the pond. They have it mowed on a yearly basis.
So when you do that, though, you're getting rid of a lot of really important stuff that helps protect the quality of the water in the pond. Right? All that brush, if you're not replanting it with something native.
Right, well, the vegetation, the root systems would stay, so all of the soil will stay intact.
But still, there's a
Yeah.
lot of runoff and, that the brush would naturally use. Just
Mhm.
curious, why you would remove what is critically important in New England for ecosystem protection.
Mhm.
Just keep removing it, you're gonna end up with grass underneath the trees. Right?
Right, right. Well, would you be concerned about runoff or?
Partially, and I apologize, I don't have the plan in front of me, but it's
Yeah, no,
just
that's okay.
changing the natural system,
Mhm.
that there's a rule of thumb that if you're gonna remove invasives along a waterway,
Mhm.
it's better to leave them if you're not gonna replant with native species, just from the standpoint of water quality. And so just to kind of go in and like change what should be native underbrush, and it isn't, it's invasive,
Mhm.
kind of changes a lot of the dynamic about in terms of the water that's going into, that's running off into that pond, as well as, you know, habitat, but I'm just curious why they would choose that management strategy.
I agree with you, Lynn.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think part of it is to improve their view shed of the pond itself. So that would obviously be part of it. But the other part of it is that the trees are in decline that are in that area. So, you know,
So why
I
not
mean,
let trees grow up? I mean, I don't mean to be argumentative. It just,
No,
I'm
no, no,
not,
it's-
I really don't understand why you would want to transform the understory of a forest to grass. From an aesthetic standpoint, I understand the intention and wanting to see the pond, but from a quality of pond, I don't get it.
mhm.
Yeah, and that's something that we usually discourage.
That's
is-
all we care about is quality,
Right.
not view.
Sure,
know.
yeah, no, 100%, I understand that. Would it be, would there be challenges in replanting with natives? I mean, I'm sure that, if we were to replant with natives, obviously we would have to remove the existing root systems,
Mhm.
which would then be, you know, that would be much more, it would involve a lot more in terms of disturbance to the soil, et cetera.
Yeah. But in terms of the long-term,
Right. Just gonna say that.
you know, quality of that
Right.
pond,
The
you know,
temporary-
maybe there's some kind of a compromise. I'm just raising it because I'm really curious, you know,
Mhm.
from an environmental standpoint, from a wetland quality standpoint, what would be the advantage of taking
Mhm.
out the understory? I understand that there are invasives there, but the
Right.
invasives are better than nothing, you know?
Mm.
But
Mhm.
you know, if they're worried about their view shed, I think that you could choose lower growing native plants.
Right,
So it's a temporary disturbance, but a long-term benefit.
Right.
right. Yeah. Yeah, and perhaps I think at that point, because it's the east border of the pond and also the north border of the pond, roughly probably about half an acre in either of those, in both of those sections. So it's a, you know, in terms of replanting with natives, that's probably something, if that were an option, we'd do very gradually, because it's a large, you know, it's a large area, and we'd want to disturb the soil as minimally as possible.
Or it might be a compromise where you're replanting portions of it,
Mm,
you know?
mhm.
I think it would be useful to just give it some thought, and maybe when
Yeah.
we come back together, we could look at something a little more
Mhm.
beneficial for the pond.
Couple
Right.
questions.
Sure.
You mentioned that the trees there are in decline. How large are
Some
these
of them.
trees?
I would say, Ronnie, you think they'd be like 20 feet? There are some large ash, very large ash, you know, mature. I'm guessing maybe about 20 feet, something like that.
Okay, so they would have to be taken down and dragged out.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I see in your application, you talk about going in with a mini excavator with a brush hog on there. So I assume that's a track machine.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm looking at this the Cobblebrook Vista picture here,
let's see.
and this pond, I take it, is in the very middle of this picture.
Ken, that's a different application.
Okay.
But okay, I'm looking at
We're looking at Treasure
Cobble-
Hill
Cob-
Road.
Cobble Road.
No,
Ken, you wouldn't have the application because it just came today.
Oh, I see.
It's
Okay.
uploaded on the site.
yeah, I was just looking at the map. I mean, the aerial.
Ty,
aerial
can you
photo.
bring that up?
Which,
No.
what would you like to see?
I think the map is what,
What she provided? Okay. hold on.
And I'm looking at something on the internet, that just the aerial view of it. Does look like there are a couple of big trees.
Honestly, it's coming up gibberish.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah,
Okay.
Strange.
I don't know, something about the way it was uploaded.
Hmm,
It's not.
mhm.
Do you?
I
um,
can,
You have it? Can you share it?
Can you let her,
Uh,
can you just let her share it?
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, I have it on my phone. I'm not sure if that
Okay.
would,
I'll tell you what, why don't we
Yeah.
try to get a better sense of what's coming out, trees, underbrush, where, whether or not any of that area is impacted by conservation easement, and any thoughts you might have in terms of replanting, where and what for the
Mhm.
betterment of the quality of the pond. And let's have a fuller conversation with all that in front of us at our next
Mhm.
meeting.
Okay, okay. That sounds reasonable.
Sounds like a plan. Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, I mean, for some of us, we don't have the materials in front of us anyway, because it
Right.
came in last minute. So I mean, that's okay. And we will be able to act at the next meeting theoretically if we have all the information that we need, right, Ty?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
I'll work with her to try to gather together everything to get a full application.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So I think with that in mind, we will entertain a motion to move this to the next regular meeting. Sorry.
So
Um,
moved.
I just have a tick on me. I hate that.
No.
I was out just making the mistake of weeding my garden. It was a stupid thing to do. So we just need a motion to move this application.
So moved.
Thank you. Second,
Second,
thank you. Any further discussion or questions, Nicole?
I don't think so. We'll work to get the rest of that information together, and I'll work with Ty. Thank you for taking the time.
Okay. All in favor then?
Aye.
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 Excuse me, opposed? Abstention? Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Nicole.
Okay, thanks so much.
See you next month.
Okay.
All right. And we have no written communications to the commission,
No.
but we have a potential good discussion coming up. And for the life of me, Jeff Galusha, I know the name, but I can't put a face to it.
He's really tall guy.
I was just gonna say that he came into the office and introduced himself and he's tall.
He's tall.
That's
He's
the
probably-
first thing you would notice.
Especially
Probably,
me.
but I can't remember how long ago it was that he was on the commission. Paul, do you recognize the name? Jeff Galusha?
The name is familiar, but I can't put a face to it.
I know I'm
Yeah.
in the same boat.
Donna,
Yeah.
do you remember him?
No, I think he was before me. I mean, so
Okay.
and I'm there 15, 16 years, so.
Well, I know because he used to teach at South Kent School. And I'm going through the yearbooks right now. He was there like 2005, 2006, and then he left somewhere after that. But now he's back and just hired back at South Kent School. Was just wondering about getting involved in something in the town. And I said, by the way, and he really likes the idea. He enjoyed working on wetlands before. I think he was on the commission for 3 or 4 years at least. I remember doing a site visit with him when we were looking at something on the back of my hill here, probably coming down off the side from Kenmont, site visit up there. So he's
Where did he live? Did he live at the school?
yeah, he lived at South Kent School before, and I think he said he couldn't be here tonight because he's actually in the process of packing up where he's living and moving into faculty housing this week. But
And you think he'd be terrific?
oh yeah, he's
Where's he gonna live?
South Kent School faculty housing.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
But he definitely gets water. He was a longtime crew coach at South Kent School, so spent a lot of time on Hatch Pond. And I just think
Is he still working or is he retired?
no, he's been hired back. I can't remember what his job at the school is this time. He was teaching before, teaching and coaching crew. This time, I think he may be, he might be in charge of the hockey rink, which they now rent out all year round. And I think
Oh.
that's his job. He said it's a lot easier job than it was teaching and coaching. So,
Yeah.
but he's
Interesting.
got the time. He's got kids. I think maybe his kids are out of the house by now. And very nice wife who I think works at Kent School.
So Ty, does he need to submit like a letter saying why he wants to serve on it for the Board of Selectmen or no?
I don't know, in talking to Donna, your process has been in the past that you usually invite, prospective members to a meeting to make sure that they're willing. I know that not just Marge, other people have spoken very highly of him and are very excited that he's back to town. So I know he has a good reputation,
I
but
think we'd be stupid to say no, but I'm
I,
obviously,
No,
you
I'm
know,
just
I
saying,
can
do we
ask
need to
him for a
ask him to?
resume. Yeah.
I don't think
Does he
so.
need to provide something to the Board of Selectmen?
I don't think
Oh,
so.
no, I'll do that.
Okay.
So at this meeting, you'll have to make, if you choose to, you'll make a motion to recommend him to the Board of Selectmen, and then I'll do a memo to the Board of Selectmen noting your recommendation and asking them to, appoint him.
Okay,
Sounds
Good.
good.
everyone.
Good.
Are you making a motion, Paul?
A motion? I don't think we need a motion, do we?
Yeah, we
you
do.
Yeah, we do.
You do.
To get Ty to recommend. him
Motion
the
to
board.
recommend.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Marge, for
Good.
being brilliant and hopefully,
Right place at the right time.
absolutely. That's very
Subject came
cool.
up.
That's good. And will that round us out? I think that'll round us
Yep.
out back to 2 alternates and 5. Excellent.
Come on.
All right. Anything else that we want to talk about? Besides all of us descending on the place on the road that Paul's going to be on the Cape.
But he can't
That's
remember.
right. Next meeting in Truro.
Yeah. Does that mean you won't be
notice
here
it-
for the meeting?
Ty, do you go to Truro?
Well, I have a house in Brewster, but yes,
Okay.
Truro is amazing.
not far.
So it doesn't take me very long to get there. I will be there in person if I need to.
My
Yes.
parents lived there for 25, 30 years.
Oh my God, it's
And my
beautiful.
sister had to sell the house and I'm still heartbroken. So,
That was
Yes,
a great
you
house.
are.
yeah,
I stayed there a couple of times.
yes, you
Oh,
did.
really?
Yep,
Oh
On
my
a little
God.
tiny road called Gospel Path.
yep.
Oh,
Aw.
sweet.
Has anyone been up to Quebec City? My wife and I are trying to put together a little trip, maybe a week up there. Looks like on the net anyway, it looks like a good place to visit.
Sounds nice.
Now, are they still having fires around Quebec?
I've
Yes,
gotta go
right
'cause
now,
I've gotta-
yeah. Right
Oh.
now they are. As a matter of fact, they've got all kinds of wear masks and stay indoors and all that. But as soon as the wind changes, it'll be back to okay.
I wish I think the
Can-
only place in Canada I really was Toronto. But
Can I
Quebec's
make a
supposed to be
motion to
beautiful.
adjourn and then you guys continue the conversation? I've gotta
Oh,
go do
yes,
something
of
else. I'm
course.
sorry.
I'm ready to go too.
I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
I'm
I
sorry.
Quebec would be a great place to go. And one of
I
my
think
favorite
so.
murder mystery series takes place there. So I can highly recommend it from what I've read about it.
Yeah, a lot of history.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Ken, go and give us a report.
All right.
I
I'll
Marge
will.
is
make a motion to adjourn and then we can continue the conversation.
Yeah, Marge actually already did that. So you're seconding.
I'm
Okay.
seconding.
Any
Second.
further discussion? All in